I'd like to call to order the February 4th, 2025 Columbia Borough Council Workshop. Could I have a roll call, please?
Council President Z.
Here.
Councilperson Kaufman.
Here.
Councilperson Stahl.
Here.
Councilperson Fisher.
Here.
Councilperson Easy.
Here.
Councilperson Murphy.
Here.
Councilperson Brigard.
Here.
Mayor Lutz.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. Would anybody care to offer invocation? If you'd like, please rise for a moment of silence. And Kelly, would you like to lead us in a pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcement of executive session on January 28th, with the conclusion of the regular meeting. Council held an executive session to discuss personnel matters. Are there any additions, deletions, or reorganization of the agenda needed? I'm not aware of anything. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as published?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Geezy, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve the agenda as published. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Citizen comment, non-agenda items only. The first sign up we have is Sharon Lintner.
Good evening, Sharon Lintner. As you already know, I had submitted a right to know regarding how the bond money was spent. And I received that information, and of course it's quite extensive, so it's going to take me a while to go through all of that. I've started, and my questions are far longer than 5 minutes will allow. So I'm not going to get into that part of it, but I would like to make some comments, and if you care to address them, that's fine. What prompted me to submit the right to know in the first place was the remarks that were made during the December 3rd work session when the council president informed everyone that the previous borough manager, and previous finance manager were trying to account for the money and that the records were spotty. So my concern then was, what prompted them to even look into this in the first place? Why were they hunting the money? And then secondarily, why would they have stopped looking for it? And thirdly, as the leadership role of finance, was full council informed that this was happening? I mean, was there a need at that point for council to decide if there needed to be a forensic audit to find out where all the money went, is what my concern was. And when I submitted the right to know, of course, you were allowed to have the 30-day extension, which was fine. But then I'm wondering if you could compile all this information in those 30 days. Well, firstly, I didn't think you should need 30 days because I thought it should be accessible. That type of spending should be on the record. I mean, we shouldn't have to wonder at all where it went. But I guess I'm trying to say the 30 days that it took you to compile it then, how could you do that? In other words, if the former manager and finance manager were unable to figure that all out. So that's my comment for this evening, and you don't have to respond. I mean, I know you don't have to, but I just wanted to put that out there.
Well, I will respond because I think when I realized the information that was there and when we looked at it with Evan, it was a matter of, we have a brand new finance manager trying to getting to know where they could pull that information. And when I realized that it was all there, I think and again, this is pure speculation, I believe what the previous manager and finance manager were doing they were trying to do a deeper dive to reconcile the different items with the different projects, which is where I think they got caught up. But when we looked at all the numbers, the money's all there. It's not like they were looking for money that wasn't there. They were trying to just make sure we knew which projects were doing. And it was purely the reason they went looking is because that's the first, you got to know the past in order to look ahead to try and do like a 5-year budget. That's what happened. Like they have to know where, if there's any, holdovers, that kind of stuff. So that's why it's not like they were looking for money or they suspected it was missing or anything like that. It was all purely an exercise to get to know what had happened in the past so we could create a good 5-year plan, because up to that point, there was not any indication that there had been that, future forecasting done.
Okay. And that's just why I asked, because you had said they were trying to account for all the money. So that's
So
where my concern came
I
in.
think what they were doing was they were trying to look at the individual transactions and matching them up with the different projects, like, because there were several and there were projects that were going on at the same time. Like we had the Bethel Street and South 8th Street and some of the Walnut Streets, and there was all a lot of overlap one time. So I think that's what they were trying to do.
And we're going to have that again with Walnut Street and McGinnis. I think we're going to have overlap of projects, or simultaneously they're going to be going on. But I thank you for your answer.
Is there anyone that did not get a chance to sign up that wanted to speak? Mayor Lutz, Chief Brommer.
Yeah, try to be as brief as I can. I received some complaints recently about trash pickup. And recognizing that it's winter time, and sometimes the haulers get delayed because of the weather. They also get delayed because of vehicles breaking down and all. And I heard this morning that some trash wasn't picked up in town because there was a vehicle broke down from one of the haulers. The big problem, and the problem that I saw, especially back in that first significant, I'll call it, snowfall, was the haulers didn't pick up one day, and then they didn't let the people know what day they would come back and pick up their trash. So people had trash cans sitting out for several days until the hauler got back around to pick up their trash. But consequently, it might have gotten knocked over, blown over, whatever, and the trash was strewn about. So it was kind of a mess, and some people got angry about that. I think it would be very simple, and we have a lot of haulers in town, which is another problem. And let me back up a second. Friday, when we crafted the ordinance, Friday was left open, and all except for commercial hauling, and that was left open basically so we didn't have trash cans sitting out around town over the weekend, but also to give the haulers that extra day where they could rearrange depending upon vehicle breakdowns, the weather, or whatever have you. And that could be done. And I know some haulers generally did that. They just bumped everything back a day. And if it was a Tuesday pickup, they picked it up Wednesday. And if it was Thursday pickup, that then became Friday pickup. But people don't know that. The people today aren't being notified by their hauler that their trash pickup is going to be some other time.
Right.
And we have that ability here with TextMyGov and with Crime Watch, where if the haulers were to contact the borough could put that out. Very simple. The borough would also be able to answer, and I don't know, did you get any questions about when are they going to pick up my trash, or they didn't pick up my trash? Yeah, you know, so that would avoid, that would take care of that problem too. People calling in here and wondering what happened about the trash. Also, it would let our code enforcement guys know that the trash is going to be delayed a day or two or whatever, that someone just didn't let their trash sit out and not pay the bill and not get picked up. So there's a lot to do with that. But I think it would be very simple if someone contacted all the haulers and said, hey, let us know if you're going to be delayed, any of your routes are going to be delayed. We will put that information out so that people can see it. I did see one hauler, I think it was last week or so. Just happened to be on Facebook, and I saw where one hauler said that their pickup was going to be a different day. But that's the only one I saw, and we have over a dozen, I guess, trash haulers in town. So that's an issue I think that we can take care of if we contact the haulers and ask them to let us know what they're going to do.
That's how I found out. I saw it on Facebook.
Yes, I just wanted to provide council with an update on our blockade of Cherry Street during school hours. We had a meeting today with the school district. I've been getting feedback from my employees, the crossing guards, traffic enforcement officers, and I think all involved feel as if it is effective. We're doing well. We're still issuing maybe about 2 to 3 tickets a day for violations. And it's a simple matter of individuals following the rules and abiding by, our laws, our ordinances here in Columbia. So if we could once again ask the public to cooperate, there is a traffic pattern set up where individuals are supposed to drop off their kids in front of the school, go up Locust Street, make a right onto 6th. We're still having some conflicts there. Unfortunately, we had to arrest a gentleman about 2 weeks ago who was giving our parking enforcement a hard time. So, but overall, the positive thing is I think the measures that we took to make it better have been effective. So, thank you.
And along with that, just a reminder, Joanne and I talked about this on Saturday. Our crossing guards are crossing guards.
Yes.
They cross the children. They do not direct traffic. And so many people who complain about the crossing guard not directing the traffic. That's not their job. It's very hard to keep an eye on all those kids on 4 corners and get them across those streets safely. So that's their job, crossing people at the crosswalks, not directing traffic. That's it.
We don't normally have action items on the workshop, but it was inadvertently missed at on the last agenda. So I'd like to ask for a motion to authorize staff to advertise the position of zoning officer.
So moved. Second.
A motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to authorize staff to advertise the position of zoning officer.
Is it full-time? Is it a
Yes.
full-time position?
Yes.
I wish we would reconsider this. I think you're going about it the wrong way. I think the position of zoning officer, to me, that don't make a lot of sense. There's more involved than just the zoning officer. Planning is a function that you're putting out a lot of money on with outside sources and all, along with zoning. And I think it's time that council takes a look at some kind of professional to do planning and zoning. And I think you'll get a better bang for your buck than just a zoning officer. A zoning officer typically might have some credentials, but someone with a planning background has American Planning Association credentials behind them, and they do zoning. And you're going to come out further ahead. And you're paying money for someone to come in here and do this and do that, and you have your attorney and you have your engineering firm and all doing all this stuff. If you take that position and you add all those other costs, you're going to come out ahead. Plus get more efficient. Thank you.
Are there any other questions, comments?
I would agree with what you're saying to a point. I guess I could see the approach that's been taken, just looking for to replace the zoning officer that we lost. Because I know in speaking to other people from other boroughs, like I'm not going to name the particular borough, but there's a borough that's been looking for one for 6 months now, and they're just not finding anybody that's even remotely qualified. So how much more difficult would it be to find somebody that's planning and zoning, and probably not, and end up paying probably $150,000 to $200,000 a year for them? I'm just putting it out there just for thought, I mean, I know there's a lot of problems trying to find just anybody in zoning.
Mhm.
But if you look at the past around the county, you'll see that planners typically work in Lancaster County, York County planning commissions. They wind up taking planning positions, planning and zoning positions with municipalities because it's an upgraded pay, it's an increase in responsibility and able to do a job. I can count numerous people who went through that step in their professional career. We have one on our planning commission now, Justin Evans. Mark Stivers started in planning. Rebecca Denlinger started in planning, and they were went to municipalities, became planning and zoning directors, and moved on through. But that's call it a chair if you want, but you're getting professionals to do that job, not someone that's going to hire in to look at zoning and then have to get credentials or take courses or whatever to do it. We don't do that much zoning in Columbia. We don't do all that much planning in Columbia. But to have someone that covers both of those realms is going to save you a lot of money.
Do we have a job description for the zoning officer?
Yes,
It's not in the packet, or
No.
did I miss it?
it's not in the packet.
I can get that to you.
I think those are good points. And I think I would like to process that a little bit more. And now's our chance to really dig in and see what it is we need. What's the long-term
Yep.
position that we really need?
I'd agree with that.
Steve, when Michelle, when she sent me the job description, it said zoning officer / code compliance. So is this person doing both?
No, I don't believe that's what our intention was.
Okay.
You see, that's a
Well, see, I think it was
Just underpaid, is that right? Says that.
no. I think it was the intention. When
When the job description was made? or-
yeah,
Okay.
because that was made a year ago, and it was made so that the zoning officer would do part-time code compliance, which is why he started out with the codes compliance officer
I gotcha.
learning code compliance
Sure.
stuff. Because we didn't have that job description until last year when we were looking for
Right.
the zoning officer.
Well, I can certainly do some more background information and searching for a planner and what's involved in that. And then work on a job description that's specific to zoning, work on a job description that might involve both of them. I don't think it's a large investment to make to advertise for all of them, even if you're not necessarily hiring for one. See what the pool is, see what the people are that you get there. You may have a planner that will come in under a zoning officer or a zoning officer, or vice versa for that matter. Just my thoughts.
typically code compliance and zoning will work together. The code compliance is, their job is to see that there's compliance with the borough code, Columbia Borough Code, and then some of the national standards too. But, so if there's a problem with a zoning issue, that's in your borough code. Zoning's in your borough code, so that's their job to seek that compliance. Now,
Sure.
granted, they would have to go back and use the planning zoning person as a resource as to what they found, is that worth correcting, or is that person correcting what they're doing? So that's how it kind of all works together.
So, Mr. Mayor, I kind of understand what you're saying. However, I would have to disagree with that. There are two different things, code compliance versus zoning are two different things. I think in the past, they have become muddled together because of staffing issues, where they were kind of thrown into them. But there are two different educational issues, two different ways of seeing. I would not want a code compliance officer zoning anything for me.
No, what it is if your compliance officer sees something that is pertaining to zoning, it's just like if our police officers see something in their routine, job, about a house, they will contact codes and say, you need to go take a look at this. There's a problem.
Oh, I would agree with that. They definitely work side by
I may have
side.
worded it a little
Yeah.
wrong, but that's
Yeah.
the part of it.
They definitely work side by side, and
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
good cross train, but they still are two different disciplines, so to speak. I do like the planning / zoning aspect, but I wouldn't want my building inspector to do my planning.
No,
So,
no.
that kind of thing. But I would agree with you. I think.
No, you want them to bring issues to you, like I just used with the police and codes. You want them to bring
Sure.
issues to you so that they can see, is that correct or not?
Right.
And what the resolution to it is.
So did Alex function more as a code compliance officer or a zoning officer?
I would say more as a zoning officer.
Okay.
Okay. So since I started, I don't know of Alex doing any building inspections or anything of that sort. I'm not saying he didn't in the past. I'm just saying since I started on doing that. Now, for me, in my past experience, I am a BCO and I'm also a zoning officer. So I kind of come from the perspective that I can see what the two differences are and the amount of time you have to spend with one or the other. There are some that overlap. However, you really should have both. Prior to my starting at the borough, the last time you had Jeff Helms, that just, for 30 years, it just all got kind of thrown on one particular person. Then we separated it out,
Yeah,
and
that's when we started to see improvement, I thought.
but there's a lot of options, and I do agree with the mayor. We do need a plan. I think we've been without a plan for a long time, and I think a planner would certainly help with that. Maybe we look at having a planner and still sub out our zoning when we have those issues. Just throwing out ideas out there to keep from hiring a whole bunch of people. But if we find that right planner that's also a zoning officer, then we're golden.
Right?
Are you going to table this or?
I don't know, but
Well,
we're still discussing, but you wanted to speak.
Is this a full-time position?
Yes.
Are we replacing someone or is this a
Yes.
new position?
We're replacing Alex.
Okay, maybe. And what's the salary connected with this?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but that would be something we would have to decide when we were,
So
Yeah,
it's up,
it was based off of experience. We weren't actually posting one. We wanted to see what we actually got that came in. we'll ask what their salary requirements are, whether or not it fits within our budget.
Okay. And the planning, I'm a little up in the air on that. What are we planning? What would that officer be planning if he's got that title too?
So that's basically like, someone comes in and they are working on, they're doing a big project. That planner would be like, okay, well, they would kind of be like the traffic cop. This is how it needs to fit within what we're doing here in the borough. This is where we need to go. This is how, it needs to fit within zoning, blah, 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 blah. That would also come into play when last week we had the demolition request. The planner would be able to say, okay, you want to demolish this, but can we come to some kind of agreement? We'd like to see X, Y, and Z because it fits in better with what we're trying to do with our comp plan or whatever. That person would be able to fit that in there. That's how that works.
Okay.
Yeah, they'd be able to meet with anybody comes to town with a new project. They'd be able to meet with them from day one.
Right.
You know what I mean? They could be right in there. Okay, what you could be working with them from the get go rather than 2-3 months down the road. They come in with a bunch of plans. Now we got to look at them and say, oh, is this really going to fit in? And then you got to go back to the drawing board and start all over.
And they can also provide better feedback to us to help us make a decision, to make the best decision that we can on, if something should be approved or not approved or whatever.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, I really hate to see that place being torn down. Had a beautiful handicap ramp outside. It had the handicap staircase thing inside that you go up from first floor to second floor. And there's no such thing as you can't refix any property. I don't care how bad they are, they can be refixed. But I just really, really hate to see that be torn down.
Could we actually look at the need? Do we really need someone full-time to do that? Is there enough work that warrants having a full-time zoning officer? Or could we get someone for less than that? See what I mean?
I do think that's a possibility.
Okay.
So I do think that's a possibility, and again, it depends on which direction that you're going to go.
Which is why we had Alex set up as zoning officer and code compliance.
Gotcha. Which might be good if we can find a planner / zoning officer, because, then you'll be spending, we'll just say 2 days on zoning and 3 days on planning, or vice versa. So,
I just didn't know with zoning if there was enough to
Nice.
warrant full-time there.
it really all depends, but I would say in most cases, no. I think in Alex's case, it was that he didn't have a lot of experience, so things take a little longer when you don't. You have to dig in a little deeper, but somebody that's been doing it for quite a while can say, oh yeah, no problem. I'm just, so.
Yeah.
Really, I think it's going to depend on the caliber of person that you get in and what we expect from them.
And it also depends on the time of year.
Yeah,
Like
time.
in the spring, when all the road opening permits are coming in and that kind of stuff.
A good example of a planner, the issue over here on the porches on Walnut Street. If you had a planner that would have reviewed those plans, you wouldn't have got into all the time and money spent on that whole thing, because they went over the plans and said, yes, you can do it this way, no, you can't do it that way. And then they're the conduit from the borough to the planning commission. They'll work right with the planning commission. So you're not gonna pay someone to come in here and work with the planning. They'll be that planning officer or person that'll be working with them. And they'll review those plans. And once those plans are reviewed and basically approved by the planning commission, then they'll go down to the county for final review and then stamping. So I look back at the years that Jeff did a lot of planning, and there was a lot of plans that were reviewed and time spent on that. And right now, you're bringing in engineering firms and things like that to do that work. and you could be doing it here.
I do see the advantage of what Steve said about how we would post the opening, whether it be planning, zoning, planning, however you model it, because again, I'd hate to have us, put a job out there, a job description that tries to force somebody down a certain road rather than wait to see, hey, let's see what comes in. Maybe we'll get a planning/zone, or somebody that has more zoning than planning, but has some planning in it. It could work out both ways. But, I'd hate to see us lose somebody just strictly by the way we advertised it.
I'd like to see someone in zoning that has the 30,000-foot view in terms of being a planner, because I think that's valuable in terms of what was, we haven't had someone like that in that position. And, we ran into issues in the past where things weren't followed up correctly, and I think that has to do with that. They didn't have the view of a planner to help those projects go along.
Well, let me look into coming up with a job description for a plan or something that might be acceptable to advertise on. And then, then I'll bring it back to council and see if this is what you want to do. Or do you want to, table, well, that's up to you guys, but.
We'd have to table the motion first. We have a motion and a second.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second, but
We didn't vote yet.
we can actually just all vote no
Yeah.
and then bring it back in a different format. Because if we table it, we have to
Yeah.
bring it back in
Bring
the
it back
same
in.
format.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right. So I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman and a second by Councilperson Stahl to authorize staff to advertise the position of zoning officer. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Aye. All right. So that fails. All right, now workshop items. First one we have is discuss the ordinance change to chapter 198, transient retail business. Councilperson Murphy, you want to take us through this?
Sure thing. You should have on your table, top of the community. I'm not sure which date it was. I forgot to look at my calendar, but a few weeks ago, myself and Steve and Paul met with Chief Brummer, and we went through, picked this apart pretty much. And the intent of this, from what I recall from that meeting, is that we wanted to pull anything to do with food trucks out of this and we're going to create a separate food truck ordinance. Correct. Now, I did go through and my notes transferred using track changes so everybody could see anything that's lined out as things that we were removing, and wherever there's things that were added, you'll be able to see it from there. Now, I did, going through the definitions, I know our solicitor had sent us a few extra copies, Steve, and I looked through it, I didn't see anything, well, it might be some things that were needed to be added to our definitions and word usage, but the one thing I was concerned about was, I had a note, I can't remember what it was anymore, but we had the term issuing authority in the definitions. And I know in the text we put about Columbia Borough and or the Columbia Borough Police. Later on, you'll see it in there, but were going to stick with issuing authority or not, or? I don't remember.
Well,
That's
according
one-
to this, it's the issuing authority is appointed by Borough Council by resolution, so.
No, Paul, do you remember, or Steve, do you remember anything in particular to that? I'm going back to my notes. I just had it highlighted, but I didn't. I think.
To be honest with you, I remember the conversation. I don't really remember where we went with it though.
Would that be a reference to who issues the permit? Like right now, I
Yes,
believe
yes.
it's Paula and Codes.
Yes.
Right.
Typically, what you see in these ordinances in that particular realm, you'll see, and I'll use this as an example, the borough manager or his/her designee.
Mhm.
So then that gives you a wide range of, you can appoint
Yeah, that's true.
this person to do that, and or later on you could appoint this person to do that or whatever have you. So that covers it, and it doesn't require an ordinance change then to have someone else do that job.
So what was added is underlined, right?
Yes,
And what was taken away is,
correct, yeah.
I just want to make sure.
So as far as definitions, section 1, which is definitions and word usage, that's the only quote unquote question that we had in there. Section 2, license required, was pretty much straightforward. We didn't see any need to change that. Section 3, the exemptions, I think we did not make any changes to that section as well. Where it got section 4 as well was the exemptions from the payment of the license fee. There's 4 exemptions listed there: farmers selling their own produce, manufacturer, producer in the sale of bread and bakery products, manufacturer, producer in the sale of meat and meat products, or any manufacturer, producer in the sale of milk or milk products, provided that the milk or milk product shall not include or apply to ice cream or other frozen desserts. So those are the exceptions. And then, of course, B, you can see what's listed there. Where it really started to change and was some stuff that was, it was, what was it, 1992, I believe was when it was originally. But there's a lot of very outdated language that was in there. So the first change will be item B, where we put a current valid proof of identity, not just proof of identity, current valid. Pete brought this up. F, previous criminal records. Chief, did we want to keep that in there? So I know further on down we took that
Paula
out.
can discuss this.
Yes,
Yes, I think it's a good idea
That's
to
one.
keep that in.
I know we
there.
kept it in one part and not the other. I just want to make sure it was correct. Okay. Items that we did remove, that we suggested, where we're suggesting removing are I, place or places where he was engaged in selling immediately prior to such application. J, place or places where he proposes to engage in selling immediately after leaving Columbia Borough. That really is on the vendor itself. You know what I mean? Correct, Paul? They have their license through the state. There's really no need for us to know where they were at before us or where they're going afterwards. I'm not sure why that's in there. There's a lot of things that we're not sure why they were in there. And then we also took out what's listed as L, M, and N. L is at the discretion of the issuing authority. 2 photographs, 2.5 by inches. It's way too much detail.
Passport photos.
Photos.
Yeah, H had to do with fingerprinting being placed upon that, fingerprinting and putting fingerprints on the application. And N was where he or any helper proposed to sell anything that is to be eaten or drunk, such as investigation and examination as the issuing authority requires to establish that he and his helper do not have any communicable diseases. That's on the health department. That's not on us. So
Good luck enforcing that, Jack.
yeah, good luck enforcing that. So I mean, I'm not sure why they're in there anymore, but we have the proposed commencement date and length of time during which he proposed to engage in a transient retail business in Columbia Borough. I have a note here. I'm not sure if this is where it belongs or not. We had talked about the time of the day would not exceed the hours from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. unless permission is provided by Columbia Borough. Correct? And that's the right spot for it? Okay.
And that would allow us to, like during the Halloween parade,
Yeah,
those guys,
yeah. They could go later.
that's when we could say
Yeah.
they can go
Yeah, we get permission through the
the permit.
yeah, the permit, yeah. Yeah. Couldn't think of the word. Q and R, we propose removing them as well. Exact location, approximate value of any real estate owned by the applicant, and the name of one bank which the applicant has dealt with on a period of 1 year or more. U, we removed as well, proof that he holds a valid current licenses or permits from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for his business activity, if such are applicable. V is, we revised the beginning part of, at least from my notes, where it says authorization, we said provide a background check from the state they reside in, which background check must be reasonably satisfactory to the Borough of Columbia before the issuance of a permit, verifying the criminal information reference in other parts of this section. Is that correct, Paul?
Yes, one of the shortcomings with our current background checks, it's Pennsylvania only.
Mhm.
So if they're coming from out of state, which we do get some vendors for, like the Halloween parade, they need to provide us with a current background check from that state.
Okay, that's all that's in section 5. Section 6, the issuance of the license. We're just taking out section B, the very last part of that section, where it basically would end at the word helper. And then an individual license shall begin for each helper. It's just one license for a vendor and the list of their helpers, correct?
Correct.
Under license fee, the fee for a license under this chapter shall be paid to, instead of the issuing authority, I just put the Columbia Borough, and shall be set, and shall be as set from time to time by resolution of the Borough Council. So, no other.
Oh, wait, you need to take out that next line. When an applicant has several agents or helpers, each one
Yes, sorry.
shall be licensed separately.
Correct.
Okay.
That's going to be removed.
Just a point of clarification. Are we talking about the food vendor trucks?
No,
Or
no.
is this just the general?
The food truck, that's from what I took from our meetings, that we intended to craft a separate food vendor truck, a vendor truck.
Correct.
Food truck.
Food truck.
Then Paula, those that are going door to door, we want to be able to identify them with the permit process, right? Not just the main vendor.
Correct.
Okay, so I think,
So
So we should keep that in
So we should
there.
yeah,
keep that in there then.
yeah, that particular language
Oh.
needs to remain in there.
Okay.
However, when it comes to the food
Food
trucks,
truck, it would be
we're
out.
talking about having only one permit.
Right.
Because oftentimes you have maybe young individuals helping out, that they would
Yeah.
fall under the umbrella of the owner or the operator.
Yeah, I do think that's the note I had in there. Yes, you're right. It does say about, it would have to be taken out for the food truck.
Food trucks, yes.
Right. Sorry. Term of the license, 198.8. No changes were suggested from our meeting. Section 9, the form of the license, identification badge, no changes there. 10 is non-transferability. Basically, the license can't be, you can't give the license to somebody, they just give it to somebody else. Standards of conduct, 198.11. Go all the way down to section R, which says where the transient retail business is or includes the sale of goods or services from a vehicle operated on any street, alley, or lane in Columbia Borough, the person engaged in such business shall comply with the following requirements. Again, we put, he shall maintain a valid driver's license or applicable state identification, registration, and current inspection for the vehicle. And I misspelled identification. Number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6. We removed all of those about equipping the vehicle with signal lamps mounted at the same levels. This again, E was caution signal arm, equip the vehicle with a convex mirror. Just way too much detail. Shall not back the vehicle, drive in reverse, make or attempt a sale. It's a moving vehicle. 7 is he shall conduct his business and shall operate the vehicle, and we change it to according to applicable local and state requirements. Instead of all that other, protect the safety of his customers and persons on the streets, alleys, blah, blah, Under section 198.12, violations and penalties. The only change I had noted was B, in addition to the penalty provided in section 12A, Columbia Borough and/or its police department. Now I have one uniformed police officer present. Is that part necessary? Just take that out, right?
Yeah, I think we talked about removing that.
Yeah, okay. So again, it'd be, in addition to penalties provided in section 198.12A, Columbia Borough and/or its police department is authorized to remove any stand, equipment, goods, or any other article, and so on and so forth. And of course, 198.13 is just the application of the zoning ordinance. Did I miss anything, Steve?
Nope.
Went back over it a few times. Sharon?
I had a question on a word.
Mhm.
Under standards of conduct, why wouldn't you have wanted to use the word licensee rather than the whole thing refers to he and his?
Oh, I know, yeah.
That'll be changed.
Yeah, any pronouns will come out, yeah.
Okay, I just wondered because I
Yeah,
thought maybe
it's all
women
throughout.
didn't apply to these rules, so, thank you.
So that's 198. Is there anybody have any from council? Anybody else have any suggested edits or anything that may have missed?
So are we having a separate section for food trucks?
So on that,
Are we gonna have a whole separate?
I think we need to
ordinance?
look and see whether or not it's a subsection of this, or if we want to have a whole nother section in itself. Okay, but we did pull the food trucks out of this particular part of the ordinance. We wanted to really simplify that, and they have kind of separate rules of their own. So the other sheet that I put on your desk here was just some suggestions. It's not laid out in ordinance form, but it was pulled from other ordinances of where I think we should probably be going. But I think Kelly did a great job on the 198. I think we're pretty close to having that one finalized, at least from what Kelly did in here. One of the things I think council I'd like to bring up to you is we are not quite ready, obviously, to finalize anything for the food trucks, but I think we should have some discussions about some applications that we're having coming in for the spring and how we might want to waive the ordinance that's in place now for what we're looking to have done in the spring. That way we don't hold anybody up or we deny people because they didn't do fingerprints and blood tests and whatever else that was in the ordinance in there. But then we can kind of keep things going, but we'll continue to work through getting this part of the ordinance anyway, finalized.
I have a question on the violations and penalties.
Sure.
So I'm just trying to understand how this would work. So let's just say pick a day, a random Saturday. Someone sets up a stand on a public sidewalk, a cookie stand, and they're blocking the sidewalk. So how do we enforce this? Like, how would enforcement of that work?
First of all, is it the Girl Scouts or the church?
No,
No, it's not. It's a business,
legit business.
a legit business. Like there was the way this happened before, there was an event happening inside the market house. Someone set up a stand outside down the street. and was blocking the sidewalk.
Then they didn't have to pay.
So they didn't have to pay to be in the market house.
I remember.
Right. So how would the enforcement there work?
Well, one is you have an ordinance that says you can't block the sidewalk.
Well, right, I know.
That's one thing. The other thing, don't you have, I thought this, anybody selling food has to have that
Safe serve.
safe
Safe
serve
serve.
certificate?
Surf safe.
Because I think we got into that one, there was one up on South Fifth Street that was selling products from their home. And this goes back
Right, I
quite a
remember.
few years.
And
Remember
they didn't
that?
have surf safe.
And we had to shut them down because they didn't have their safe serve certificate.
What if it's not food, what if it's handcrafted dish towels?
Well, there again, you can't block the sidewalk.
So they're not blocking the
Well,
sidewalk.
it was, well,
No, you
that comes down, that basically comes down to yard sales.
So,
Is your question an operational question? How we would handle this from a
Well,
staff standpoint?
no, I'm asking
would
because
word
if
it,
we
so.
take the part out about, the police officer being authorized to remove stand equipment, goods or other, and things like that, I'm just trying to figure out how we would enforce that. Because in the case that happened before, like I would have thought there would have been more effort to remove that from blocking the sidewalk and that kind of stuff.
I apologize. I think the language we wanted to remove was language that stated a police officer must be present. when
Okay.
codes-
Yeah. But how it's worded
codes
now,
department actually,
Okay,
how it's
yes,
worded now is,
confiscates and or removes.
yeah, I'll read it now.
Right.
It says, in addition to the penalties provided in section 19812A, Columbia Borough and or its police department is authorized to remove any stand, equipment, goods, or any other article or thing held for sale, and so on and so forth.
okay.
Isn't there language in there about the police department?
Yeah, we took
need-
that, and it says when a uniformed police officer is
Yeah,
present.
when, right,
We took
that's
that
correct.
out, right?
That's correct, yes. Codes should have the authority to.
Yeah, codes.
Remove.
Okay.
Do we have any other regulation on yard sales or garage sales?
Yeah, that's a whole
Yeah.
separate,
That's a whole separate section.
that's a
So
separate thing.
under 198-3 exemptions, there's a whole thing, stands, E, stands on privately owned real estate, so on and so forth. Including yard sales, garage sales, or sale of garden produce, provided that it's in compliance, and further provided not more than 2 yard sales or garage sales may be held on the property in any 12-month period. I think we should scratch that out.
Oh, wait, maybe I'm not thinking of it right.
I think that is our.
I think
Or is that
that is
our
the
ordinance?
ordinance. I think that is it.
That's
Is that
what I'm-
it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. I thought it was a separate section.
So
Sorry.
this is the section.
Yeah,
Okay.
my bad. Well, I was thinking of it in conjunction with the off-premise signage, like,
Something that had one, just on food trucks.
all right, any other questions, comments? All right,
Good job, Kelly.
So we'll work on.
good job. You'll let me know when that's ready for another look, or?
Sure. Do you think it's best, I'm just trying to get like a poll, shall we say, if it's best to have the food trucks that be a separate section within this or just its own standalone ordinance?
I think so. The sheet that I gave you here was, like I said, just a basic
Yeah,
throw it together.
different.
But if anybody has any, thing that they want to email me or something like that, we can kind of work something together, get it back to council and have them review it.
Because I looked at a bunch of different boroughs, in the area, and I can't figure which one anymore, but one of them had the same ordinance, not the same, but had a transit retail business ordinance, And then they had a separate one, just a separate chapter.
Yeah, I'd like to have a
Just on
discussion.
food
I'd
trucks.
like to have a discussion with Evan, the best way to actually do that. I mean, I know we want to have it separated, but separated within the ordinance of retail or a whole separate section. So,
If we do a whole separate section, are we gonna have to advertise for it twice? In other words, advertise for this and then advertise for that? So if we can make it a subsection, we'd only have to advertise once, right?
I like it.
Well, I mean, even if we do have it separate, we can hold off on advertising it until the second one's done and do them both together.
Do them both together.
Right.
Okay. We could still advertise at the same time.
Mhm.
Yep.
But Steve, you brought up the part about, the ones we'll have coming up in spring, that this food truck ones may not be ready in time to give you the authority to.
Correct. And that's what I think we, as long as council knows we're working towards something that's more reasonable, we can bring that up, that they're willing to waive what's there now. That way they can, that way we cannot hold business back come the spring.
Kelly, Pam is very concerned about liability as far as the food trucks and the requirement to have the applicant present the Safe Serve certificate, at the time the application is submitted. So if you could make sure, when I was reviewing the sample language, I didn't see anything in there about the state Safe Serve certification.
And that she would want to have, of course, she would want to see a copy of that included with her application, correct?
Either she or Paula,
Or
yes.
Paula, yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have for 198. Steve, did you want to, we have the,
Next item is discuss the legislative priorities.
priority list.
Trying to find it too. Did we not include it?
It's in, I just have it full size. Probably have the January one. There it is. There's the project list. Such a big file, it takes forever. So at the top, we have, I kind of grouped them together before Steve got here, actually. Because when we were going through with Mark and I used to meet with Paul every month. So we have 112 and 166 are kind of tied together because we have the roles of the code official and tied, and of course, rental properties. This is also the amendment to chapter 112. So those were in process, Paul. I don't know if you have any update you wanted to provide on them or any updated. I was trying to give more accurate due dates rather than just a spring of 2025 or fall of trying to lock it in more towards a month. We could be prepared, say, the month before to prevent something to them.
We're close to having that done. Jess, what's her name?
Fieldhouse.
What's that? Fieldhouse, thank you. And I had worked closely with that. I remember that we were close to the end of it.
Yeah.
She has not been back for a few
Okay.
months, but it's close to being where that needs to be to move majority of 112 into 166. After talking with
Should we move
Steve
it back to
tonight.
like April?
I'm sorry?
Should we move it back to like April or something? Like that?
We can. I think she is.
Due back soon.
So we'll pick up where we left off. after having a conversation with Steve today, we may need to do a little bit more adjusting on what Jess and I had going on. But yeah.
Next one, of course, was the nuisance ordinance that totally bombed out. And we're going to create a new one, Steve. I know we started on it, and then, of course, you guys get tied up with the budget for 2025. So I don't know where the quick
Yeah,
tickets.
I do have a good start on that one, Kelly. It's just trying to pull it all together and come up with something. And you and I, we can have some good conversations about where to go with that one on Thursdays when we can.
I'd like to be a part of that discussion at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Sharon.
I just wondered what the red lines are.
It's just like a separation. So I knew that it was for myself.
Okay.
So like the first two that went together, and then and that, like I said, that grouping. I say there's 11, 12. There's like short-term rentals, text amendments, rezoning. Those 1, 2, 3, 6 kind of tied together with planning. So that's why I have them kind of grouped together. They it's just what I did for my own. Keep things clearer in my head and just trying to put them in correct orders. This isn't necessarily what should be the priority that we should be working on first. I think that's really what we're looking for from council as well. Of course, you'll see down there, there's chapter 198, the food truck ordinance, which, we're pretty far along on it. We'll get pretty far along on that one. Is there anything on this list? Heather or any other anybody from council that can see that we should be on here that we're missing? I know the 2 HARB ones, the HARB amendments and the solar panel that I grouped them together. The market house amendments, that's by itself. The fire inspector and update code to remove all references to committees. That's why I tied those 2 together. Of course,
Yeah, Kelly, if I may.
Yeah.
Chief and I were talking today about some issues, and I'll say, if you remember what we went through with Club Good Times.
Yeah.
I think the borough should at least discuss, if not change in its zoning, limit tobacco shops and tattoo shops in the downtown business district and move them to another zone. We had a big issue with Club Good Times, and one of the things that the borough did was that kind of business is now permitted in the industrial zone. So you have to provide somewhere in your community, you must provide for all uses.
Yep.
So that's now in the industrial zone. Now, Club Good Times was grandfathered, and now it is no more. So if that ever comes up again, it goes to the industrial zone. If you look at our downtown right now, with tobacco shops and tattoo parlors, I think it's time that we take a hard look at that in our downtown business district and possibly change the zoning that they happen somewhere else rather than in your downtown. Now, that doesn't stop those that are currently operating at all, but when they go out of business, then they don't come back. And that's how that works. So I think it's high time to take a hard look at that. Along with that, I'd like to talk to our state representative and our senator that tattooing, I think that should be something that is certified by the state. Beauty shops, I think, are certified by the state. They should be certified by the state. And that takes that burden off of the local municipality as to who's in there doing the tattooing, who's not those kind of things, the enforcement. By making that a state license requirement, then that brings state enforcement in, and it takes the borough out of trying to, how do we enforce, for example, in the tattoo shops? How do we enforce who is certified and who isn't?
Right.
We can't. So you get someone that's not certified and something goes wrong, there's some kind of a contract, hepatitis or something like that there. We don't know who's doing that work. If the state is certifying them, then they can go in there. We can't go in and, for example, tobacco and vape shops. We can't go in there and see if someone under 18 is being served or not, but the regulating authority can. And I think that's the Department of Revenue, if I'm not mistaken, tobacco. So with the tattoo, there's no state agency that I'm aware of that certifies tattoo shops or licenses people who do tattooing. I don't know what that word would be called. You get my drift on that.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah,
So
I think
what zoning district would you propose us moving tattoo parlors and tobacco establishments
I don't know.
to?
I don't know. I didn't go that far yet, Heather, to take a look at the areas and where we would allow that. But
Well, and
I think I personally think it's a waste of good retail space to have 3 tattoo parlors on your main street.
well, I agree, but if they want to open up on top of each other, I mean, that's their business choice. But at the same time, I worry about the people that live in our downtown business district, like it or not. Some of the shops that sell tobacco and so forth have other grocery items. And so you move them out, and then the people from St. Peter's apartment may not be able to get somewhere
Well, and I'm
to
not-
get some milk.
Yeah, and I'm not hard line on that. The big one,
Yeah.
we talked about tobacco and basically tobacco / vape.
Right, but
How do we enforce that?
Well, right, but pretty much all of the shops that we would consider smoke shops, like the Smoke and Chill, they're selling chicken and everything, so they could be considered not just a smoke and vape shop, but like a convenience store.
I don't have a problem with something. That's what I'm saying. I think you should look at it and discuss it. I am really hard line on the tattoo shops though, because there's really no good enforcement as to who's doing it.
Well, one other
And this is a major health concern.
consideration, and who knows what direction the state of Pennsylvania is going to go with it, because Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, it's already legal, but everybody. I've talked to some of the tobacco shops in town and people I know outside, and other councils outside the borough of Columbia, and a lot of these tobacco businesses are in play because they're all waiting for that day when the state of Pennsylvania legalizes to some extent the use of marijuana, because that's what they're all waiting for, because that's where they're going to make their big money, and that's what they all want to be poised to get into business. So, I'm not sure what kind of language we need to put in that as well, because, again, that's going to, enforcement there's going to be a real,
That's a real good point.
it's a whole other,
That's a real good point. That's why I think these two things need to be discussed. I'm not saying you need to create something, but it needs to be
just
discussed.
discuss it.
But I can tell you that I will follow up on the tobacco, on the tattoo thing,
Tattoo.
because I believe there's a health concern there.
And then I'm like I say, I'm not saying I'm for or against use of marijuana. That's everybody's individual thing. But I think, we need to be poised to, understand what we might have to do legislatively if state of Pennsylvania passes it down, and what kind of requirements are going to put on us. You know, that is.
And well, and there again,
Every time they pass something, we get,
look forward.
Enforcement gets put on us.
That's part of the discussion, Kelly. You're absolutely right. Look forward. If that happens, where do you want that to happen?
right, exactly.
Kelly, I have another item.
Sure.
Revision of the civil service regulations.
Okay.
You could add that.
Okay.
The Civil Service Commission has been working on reviewing, revising the regulations for about the last 6 to 8 months. We have a meeting planned, and I'll invite you to it if you'd like to come
Sure.
next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday?
Yes, Mike
Okay.
Miller, the labor attorney, is going to remote in
Is he
on our
here?
meeting. Just
Will be
to-
here?
Yeah, he's going to do it virtually.
Okay,
But-
but,
Yeah, it will be here. I'll send you a meeting invite.
anyway,
Okay.
perfect.
Anything else? Yes, Sharon.
On this sheet, at the very last one, high priority for the homelessness issue, need enforcement and legislation. Are you able to elaborate a little bit on what that is about?
I mean, it's just, it's just something that Steve and Evan and I just talked about after one meeting, is just, we need to do something to, you know, regulate where you want, first of all, you know, where it's ideal to have it. I'm not saying the intent isn't to get rid of it. The intent is, you know, A, to make sure that it's in a place where ideally it's best suited for your town, but also B, are they doing things the right way? Are the people licensed? You know, are they following our codes? There's a lot of issues with code violations with the current situation. I'm just being honest. I've been through them myself.
I was hoping that council had gone through before you make legislation
I've been through many
changes
times
or ordinance
and hoping
changes.
that the improvements were made, and they weren't made.
Go through and take a look at what's happening there.
Don't know.
I don't know how you can vote on
No,
something to
this is- I
change
don't
an
have
ordinance
anything-
without doing that first.
Yeah, there's no date to that or anything, so it's just something I put in there.
Oh, because it said high priority, that's why I wondered. All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, Kelly, what action are you looking for from
Well,
us or
Well, I guess
nothing?
for what I'm looking for, what I would be looking for council, I know if Steve isn't up, but what ones or what groupings of ones do we feel that, you know, should be of highest priority to get done first? I mean, some of these are quick hits and can be done quickly, like the one with the fire department, fire chief, fire police. That's a one sentence change. We can make that, but we don't want to send it out just for itself to have to advertise just that. We're holding off on that until we get other ones.
Let's get the nuisance ordinance figured out.
Right.
It's holding other things up.
Yep.
We're waiting long enough.
That's pretty much what Steve had been putting his time to when he gets a free moment.
Yep.
Chapter 220, is that, you know, because there's literally 1, 2, 3, 6 different ones in there, all related to zoning and tax amendments, and that's stuff I know it's in review with the planning commission, so I guess it's really something to take to them. I do want to go to the next planning commission meeting, just to talk to Mary a little bit.
The text amendments related to the McGinnis Innovation Park project. I had another discussion with Mary in email, and I guess the direction that we gave at the January workshop was not robust enough.
Okay.
So I wanted to do it at this one, but we had a full agenda, so it won't take us long to go down through that table of permitted uses. So I'd like to do that next week because there's not a whole lot on the agenda. For council to say yes, no, whatever. Because I don't know how much more robust we can be then.
Sure. Yeah, I support that for sure.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, there's a lot on this list. But,
Mhm.
now that we have Steve in place, we have more staff in place, and we really like to get back and start knocking some
Well,
of these out
and
again.
like the rezoning of the North Second Street properties, I mean, I was kind of like, that kind of died
Mm.
because we said no to the rezoning.
Okay. So I could just cross that
And
off.
so that goes in with the whole discussion, if they're trying to do simplified zoning and things like that, that would go into that about changing, that would go in hand with changing the like the zoning districts to either simplify them or change the like description of them or whatever.
Right.
Because I think the big problem down there was when the residents heard they were going to be changed to downtown commercial, they're like, they don't want the businesses there.
Yeah.
Whereas, I was saying it was probably a better description to change it instead of saying downtown commercial, saying like neighborhood mixed use or something
Neighborhoods,
like
okay.
that. So I think that's where that kind of went hand in hand, was that really opposed to the rezoning, but the district name was what caused that
Yeah, the
concern.
name, the
Or
nomenclature.
it was neighborhood commercial. Yeah, it was going to, right? It was going to neighborhood commercial. I think that kind of gave them a little bit
little
of,
more
yeah.
security.
I think the short-term rentals have some attention given to it, I think. And I think what that basically comes down to, if I remember correctly, is just a matter of changing where the permitted uses are.
right?
Yeah, the table permitted uses. Yeah.
I think so too.
Mhm, yeah.
But again, a lot of this is with planning, so.
That whole 220.
But I'm concerned that we're not going to have the amendments done for the light business district in time for McGinnis moving. I don't want to see us holding a project up waiting for zoning amendments. And if we're going to be moving dirt this summer, things are going to move fast.
And then that has to be a high priority.
Yeah.
It has to be number one, number two priority.
Have to let them know.
So that's why I said if we need to go through the table of permitted uses and do it, then that's what we're going to do. Anyone else have thoughts?
What were we reviewing in rental properties?
I mean, the short-term rentals, Pete,
Well, there's one at the top of the list, chapter 166, rental properties.
I think, Paul, it was in both.
Currently, what's in 166 is the lead information. That's all that's there.
This holds there.
However, it is called rental properties, I think.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is taking the bulk of 112, which does pertain to rental properties,
And moving it to
moving
166.
over to 166.
Yeah, 'cause
But
we're-
we're cleaning up some of the language and
Yeah, because 112 is called the roles of the code official, yet it has most of the code stuff in that, even though it's the roles of the code official.
Gotcha.
So moving 112 into most of 112 into 166.
Okay, thanks.
Gotta think about that 1%.
Great. Anything else you need from us?
Not at this moment, nope. I'll have to do it.
Any further questions or comments on it? All right, moving on. 9C, discuss options for parking meter replacement and enforcement. Who's leading this one?
I thought the chief was.
So I can talk a little bit about this one.
Looks like it's a sticky booger. Not it.
I can talk a little bit about this one. We can no longer find parts for our parking meters. So we're kind of running into a situation here where we're almost going to need to take some parking meters out in order to use them as parts for the parking meters that we keep. I had some discussion with Heather, and I didn't realize how much of this was actually tied into our first RACP grant.
Phase 2.
Phase 2, which at this point, phase 2 is required. It already submitted in order for us to get paid for phase 1. So to my understanding, there's, a lot of improvements in this, and parking meters was one of them. I'm not sure it specifies all of them. I think we were mainly looking at, if I'm correct, Heather, the parking lot behind the market house and the parking meters around the market house.
Well, no, I think it didn't specify the specific parking meters. It was the parking improvements and that, the enforcement, like the new thing to,
LPR,
yeah, I couldn't remember what it was called.
license plate readers.
Yeah, the license plate reader and that, but it all kind of went hand in hand with, we could do what we would have the money to be able to do a different solution if we wanted to look at kiosks or something like that. In there.
Gotcha.
That's
Well, the LPRs would have a use no matter what.
mhm.
Oh, sure.
So that would be a definite
Well,
use.
yeah, I mean, it is, that's what is counted in the
And
RFP.
and I don't know where you're at, but I was looking, I like this paper here, year 1, 2, 3. And year 1, what's being taken out of there? Would there be money in RACP to put a kiosk?
There would be, yes, but we can't do that until we get our money from the first part of the RACP.
Oh, well, okay, yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. You can start on that,
Mhm.
that when you get your money from the RACP, then this year 1 goes into effect, that becomes the first year, goes into effect, and you buy the kiosk for it. Or if you have the funding, you buy several kiosks, whatever you need. But I like that phase, I really like phasing it.
The only question I have about the kiosks, and you know this yourself, you had a discussion with the mayor of Ephrata.
Yeah.
They stuck some in. They can be labor intensive. There can be issues because they're not always convenient where they're placed. We have an existing infrastructure now, Park Mobile, where it's almost costing us nothing. The investment is truly minimal, and its use is borough-wide. So
I know.
we can
I
start.
think Park Mobile.
I know, I understand that, and I'm all for that. I just think that in this community, we still have people that, we still have people that complain that our meters only take quarters,
Yes.
whereas they used to take other denominations of coins. So I think that not having a way for people to pay right there is going to be a detriment to
And that's why within this plan, what we propose is a phased approach where, at least the first year, we would look at removing the coin-operated parking meters in our Market House lot, on Market Avenue. We'd add some additional or extra signage pertaining to Park Mobile, and even add that to our employee lot also. And this is anecdotal, but in my discussions with parking enforcement, they're indicating a lot of what they're seeing is the use of Park Mobile primarily on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, when individuals are coming in from out of town and they're here to visit the market or maybe go to, one of the restaurants in town. So, year two then would maybe look at the side streets, removing the coin-fed meters on the side streets. We'll still leave the meters on Locust, and then year three, maybe removing them.
That's what I like about the 3-year phase. And
Right.
you're doing it very limited that first year, but you're kind of breaking the ice on, we want you to use Park Mobile. I mean, and like you
Right.
said, the people that come on the weekend, they're used to it because, I'm sorry, you go to Wildwood, go to Stone Harbor, go to Ocean City, go to Cape May. They all use exclusively
I use it every
Park
time I
Mobile.
go to Lancaster City.
Park Mobile's all they have.
I mean, it's just switch over to it.
Yeah, I think the resistance, there always will be resistance until you just do it, and then it goes away. If you,
I would like to turn this speak at some point.
if you keep trying to appease people, you'll never get to where you want to be.
Right.
You have to do it and get it over with. I mean, I still carry quarters in my console, but
Me too.
if I have to use
Well, I
Park
do
Mobile, then
too.
I'm gonna have to
Good.
use Park Mobile.
I need my.
Check your door handles then.
I need my old.
But with the phase, what I like about the phase is you do it and do your year one, people still have that option in other parts of the downtown. And then in phase two, they have less options. So you got 3 years to get on board.
I like the fact that it's.
Yeah, here's the thing. So you take somebody's, I'm gonna say age, I know it's age discrimination, but I don't mean to be. But take someone my age. I'm 58 tomorrow, okay? I don't have a cell phone, so I'm not gonna use Park Mobile. Well, in 3 years, I'm not gonna have a cell phone to use Park Mobile either.
I have an idea.
It just doesn't make sense.
I have an idea
Just
for
say,
this.
we're done with the meters and move on.
We have a special program, senior citizen parking permit. You can come down, pay $10 for, per quarter, right? No.
For 3 months.
For 3 months.
That's true.
That's
That'd be
something,
good.
that's something that maybe Park Mobile could adapt to. So I think there is a permitting,
Special
special permit application to it, something we could look into.
It just doesn't make sense. We're prolonging, just to prolong.
So you're saying rip the Band-Aid off fast? I mean, I don't disagree. I think then we would say, I agree with the idea that we don't put kiosks in, because I think that's like 2010. And
I don't mind the kiosk.
they're fine, but if we're trying to save expense, they're an expensive piece of equipment. And these meters out here lasted for how many years? But those kiosks are going to be out of date. You know how, I mean, you went from a swipe card reader to now it's chip, now it's contactless. I mean, maybe there isn't going to be a future iteration that changes beyond that. But it's an expensive piece of equipment, and if someone runs a car into it, there goes 20 grand.
I can tell you also, they're not maintenance free.
Yeah.
There are issues with them. Getting jammed, having to refill, the actual tag, the paper, right, exactly.
And then security, people put these scanners
That one in my-
malicious scanners
Yeah.
on units like that.
You know,
Yeah, I saw
another,
that. Yeah, I
another
can't believe
point
that.
to phasing the meters out is also to try and minimize the negative impact on commerce. You know, I'm a little concerned about that as well. Is it
So-
going to,
I am
The
too.
very first time, not the first time I went to Lancaster City, but in recent years, I went down to Lancaster City and I'm rooting through my car for 5 minutes looking for a quarter.
Mm.
Get out of the car, go to the meter and it says, we now use Park Mobile. Download this app here. So I downloaded the app, put my number in, paid it. That was it.
Done.
It's done.
The first time.
And now I always have Park Mobile.
She did it the first time.
So,
so
I
you do
mean,
have a cell phone in Park Mobile?
that's what I was going to say.
Eric blew that one.
Yeah, Porter won't get very far in Lancaster anymore though.
No, it doesn't.
No,
We
I
get
go
10
to
minutes.
planning commission and it costs me
I'm
like
saying-
$5.50.
I'm saying, you're worried about people coming downtown.
Yeah.
It only happens one time.
Yeah.
You
And it's there.
you go look at the meter and it says, no, we use Park Mobile, download this app. Okay, download the app.
So we could decommission the meters and leave them there as a,
I assumed we were gonna use the meter stands for the signs anyway.
That's more than likely what we would do.
Some of
Or at least some of them, yes. Because right now, we have stickers, we have some signage out there, but we have the stickers on the parking meters themselves. But my concern with leaving the meter heads there is people are going to feed them, and we're not going to actually be emptying them. So that's going to be a problem.
unless we somehow physically block
It's like,
For state-
the
for light
coin
bulb
slot.
For state purposes.
I think you have a decent plan, 3-year plan. I think that makes sense. Thought it through.
We use Park Mobile, but
Folks in the borough who are slow
put a
to
coin in
change.
for good luck.
If we can accommodate it, accommodate it. That's what I think. Say roll it.
I like the idea, let's compromise here. You got a 3-year plan. I like that. If year 1 goes pretty good,
Why not?
why not move year 2 up a
Right.
little faster, you know? Just call them phases instead of year
Yeah.
plans.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think I'm with Eric. I think we should just have a cutoff and we'll issue parking permits for senior citizens I'll say senior citizens, someone who doesn't have a smartphone and won't ever get one.
Yeah, and I like the idea, maybe, I don't know who would reach out to Park Mobile,
I approve.
but see if we can do that.
Yeah, I will.
They have to be a senior citizen.
Well, if we do it through Park Mobile, they
can
still need to
lie.
have something on their phone and,
Right.
you know, so
No,
what's the
No,
point
it's
of
a
having
license
the?
plate.
no, it's a license plate.
It's licensed.
It's
I
like-
don't know if it's something they could come in and
Oh, you're right, you have to
speak to
mention
my
the code.
staff about, or if they'd have to apply online. Yeah, you know,
Mhm.
we would have to look into it further.
Yeah,
Put a computer in the lobby and they can down here and sign.
you might as well just go to the kiosk.
I think we do need to come up with something for people who do
The
not
second
have the
part's huge
phone
too, though.
I like
and
the phase.
who are not comfortable with downloading apps and things like that. We have a very significant elderly population. We have a significant intellectual disability people in the borough. So I think, however, coin operated, I think we need to have make it available for everyone. Coins, apps, so that no one can't park.
And that's the thing, we can't. We can't get parts for the meters. So we gotta do something different.
Yeah, the meters.
I think
Yeah.
the part too is,
And anything different requires an app or technology.
on this plan too, part B, the marketing plan, that's a big thing too. To get the word out, through the public, it says, communicate parking infrastructure changes to the public through press releases and social media, and make sure you get it out there ahead of time.
Yep.
This is coming, so don't be surprised, and, send it, mail it home if you have to.
Again,
I know what you're saying.
to me, it's a waste.
You can never get 100%, that's for sure.
You're gonna get 20% of the people to see the ad.
I know.
The other 80% are gonna walk up and say, oh, I gotta download the app.
would you feel better if we had 2 phases?
I think two is all.
I don't really care.
I
I'm
like,
just saying,
I like that two-phase. that
I'm
we
just
talked
saying,
about.
you're just prolonging something.
Just keep them on Locust Street and just keep them in front of the post office. That's the first phase. Remove all the rest. And the
Cannot
second,
breathe, park over on Cherry Street.
that's right. You have one block to
One
walk
block away.
or you get the app. And then eventually you remove it from
A lot
the,
of people do anyhow.
I've had to do that when I didn't have a quarter. You didn't pull up, you don't have a quarter.
I just
Well, I guess I'm parking over the
look for the
side street.
green jacket. If I don't see it, I just pull it real quick.
Were you driving in?
He gets enough street sweeping
Oh,
tickets.
okay.
You're saying amend
Yes,
to a
Frank.
two-phase. Is that what you're saying? Amend to a two-phase plan?
Well, I don't think we'll actually decide on anything. I think we're just discussing it.
Mhm.
I need counsel to educate me. This is something I have no idea how this is going to work. I never used the meters since you put the electronic thing on it. I'll either park on Walnut or I'll park on Cherry. I did park at the police station. I got cited, not the police station, but in front of the municipal building on a Saturday, and I got cited, so I don't park there no more. But let me give you a scenario. Let's say you take the meters out on this block out here, both sides. What happens? You have no meters there, so I go and park. What do I do?
Well, there will be
Yeah,
signage to
people
tell
go.
you have to go on to Park Mobile.
That's, they have it. You
And-
just take the
and-
meter off and put the sign on.
Yeah,
There will be a sign there, Frank, that's gonna tell you what to do.
Park mobile.
Yeah, is there a box you're talking to, or
no,
No, it'll just be a sign.
you just go on your phone?
Yes.
Okay,
You have to have the app on
is
your phone.
there a number of that space
Well,
so
there's
they
a-
know where
there's a
you're
zone
parking?
number.
It's a
Yes, there's a zone number.
Yes.
Like,
Okay, now,
And when you go on, it has a map. The map comes up and where you are, it uses your location. And then it'll tell you what zone you're standing in. You just click on that zone and say park. Super easy.
yeah, I never use it. I never tried to use it. So if we're going to do this block of Locust Street, but we have coin meters back here. So I go back there, all those spaces are filled, and here's half of Locust Street vacant. And I have no idea what to do. I'm an elderly person. I'll put myself somebody else's space. What do I do then?
Well, that's where the signage comes in. There will be signage to direct people on what to do.
Try to tell you how to do it. I'd have to try and read that and figure that out then. And I'm honest, I never used it at all. I'm just trying to get an idea. Is there a box there you're talking to, or?
Well,
I-
and based on the plan, we would not be removing them here. They would be removed from the lot, but they would still be on Locust Street.
Well, regardless, vice versa. But if it's filled and then there is spaces open where you talk into you get an app and put it on there. Now, when you do that, who is it? Park Mobile? Do they take care of everything? Do they collect the money? If there's a problem, do they take the people to the JP? What happened?
No, basically it's like an electronic parking meter. You put in on the app, you put in your
Credit card.
license. Thank you. Words are hard tonight. Your license plate number, and then you pay for it with a credit card or whatever.
you can pick like 1 hour, half an hour, 2 hours.
You say how long you
How
want
long
to
you want
park, and it charges you that amount of money. Then when our parking enforcement go through, they check Park Mobile and it tells them what license plate numbers have paid and when they're expired or not expired.
So you had to have a credit card with your
Yes.
apps.
Yes.
You
Registered.
have to have it.
Well,
with
you'll,
your card,
you'll
yes.
register the credit card with Park Mobile.
Park mobile.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Or
very,
some sort of payment.
it's very,
some-
very
right.
similar to Easy Pass.
Right.
Yeah.
It's some there. You have to hook some sort of payment up to it, whether you use a credit card, PayPal, Venmo, you know.
So at that time, they got their money. They don't,
Yes.
okay, so there's no going to JP and
No.
having
and
to fight them
and they
people.
Send us a check
They
every
send
month.
us a check.
And the nice part is
Wow.
it'll tell you when you're, Park
What?
Mobile will tell you when you're, it'll give you a warning. You got 10 minutes to your meter's gonna get some fire.
Yep.
It'll pop up in your.
And it'll give you the option right then and there to extend it.
Wow.
Pay some more money.
Yeah, I never knew how it worked, and I appreciate you explaining that to me.
They'll give you a warning. They warned you in advance.
Hold a Saturday morning class.
Yeah.
I agree,
Yeah.
something, right.
And they could all, I'll say, sign up then.
Yeah.
And they
You
can
can help them
And then
sign
how do
up
you
while
sign
they're
up?
there.
Eric, you have it. Help out.
Yeah, I know. I can do it. I
That
use
would
it every
make sense,
month
though.
when I go to
You can
planning
have people
commission.
help them.
Yeah, you could.
Do that after we take the meters out. Let's see how
That
they
whole
park
half
that
of it, they don't have
day.
to do no.
They can bring their phones and they can
Sure.
they can
It's a good
download the
idea.
app for them.
Yes.
So how do you let them know that you're going to have that class over there?
Text my gov.
Put it on the
Well,
website.
how many, I never get on that either.
Borough website.
Borough website.
But you can't, you can't.
I never get on that either.
I mean, we can announce it, but if people aren't paying attention, I mean, it's the same as any other thing. How are people gonna know? I mean,
Yeah,
we
but,
put out as much as we can.
We can put a couple posters up.
yeah, I remember when they had the things at the police station with the guns. They're going to teach you how to use the guns and everything. I completely forgot all about that a couple weeks later, and I'm wondering when they're going to have it, and, it's all gone. I don't know if we ever had another one or not, but I wanted to make that.
You still
But,
can't bring your own gun.
Well, it sounds like you got a plan, so I hope it works out.
Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. All right, anything else? Yes.
My name's Elizabeth Andrews. I've lived here pretty much my whole life, but for a few times. I would like to revisit the homeless discussion. I was watching live and I came in because of that. Pardon my emotions, going through family loss recently. I heard somebody say that they were not up to date with the codes. I don't recall who specifically said it. Does anyone hear?
I said it.
Okay.
Back when I initially went, 3 years ago, and then it went about a year ago.
The shelter wasn't there 3 years ago.
Violations. Well.
The
whenever-
shelter
when
was-
David Powers invited me over a couple months after he opened it.
Here?
Yeah.
At the new building, right. So we had codes come through about a month, maybe 2 months ago, and it had a date of inspection when they would come back and inspect, and nobody showed up for that. So I'd like to know who explained that we did not keep up with everything, because the list has been completed and no one came. Do you guys keep a record of when you come out?
We do.
So I would like you guys to address that because nobody came out for a second inspection. I also want to mention, I don't know how many of you know that last year Columbia had the highest success rate of Lancaster County positive discharges. We also had the longest stays. Part of that is when you're homeless, it's kind of like a crisis mode. It's very intense case management that we provide when they're in the shelter. Sometimes people come, they may already have employment. Sometimes they come without it. Sometimes they're not capable of having a job. At minimum, for somebody to apply for disability, it's a 9-month wait. If anyone's had luck sooner than that, congratulations. That's not what I'm used to, and I've helped quite a few people do it. As far as certifications go, my ServSafe certification went in the kitchen a few years ago, and it's good till next year. I'm a certified recovery specialist. I have to test for a peer specialist. I am certified in mental health first aid responding. We have 2 other caseworkers who are also certified in social work, one specifically drug and alcohol. This past week, we had 3 individuals go into recovery programs. I think the shelter gets talked about a lot, and I don't think a lot of people actually went through it. And there have been open houses that people have been invited to. And I would really like everybody to take advantage of going. I will admit the building we're at in now is very small. It is not okay for us to remain there. That is true. But for us to be out of Columbia entirely, or to say things like They're not doing anything and fixing things and passing codes. We've only been in this building
That's
for
not
2
what was
years.
said. Actually, I said exactly the opposite. I said, no one's looking to get rid of you. We would just like to see it in a more
We
appropriate
received,
location.
we almost received in April a letter that I don't need to mention more about because you guys already know what it is. It was taken back because we're a religious organization. I understand there seems to be some conflict, and I don't know how many of you know that we're going to start an outreach where our caseworkers are going to be going to the stores, introducing to the owners and the employees that if they see somebody in need, that our staff will be able to go and connect with them. They have a business card that they can call for that to happen. Again, I am emotionally a wreck right now dealing with family stuff, so thank you for hearing me out. Please get more information yourselves and not just from a few individuals saying things. If you don't actually know, I don't think you should vote on it or should have an opinion on it.
Listen, what letter are you talking about?
It was taken back, and I honestly, I don't want to say much more than that, but anyone who would like to talk to Pastor Dave about it, feel free.
Where did it come from?
It almost came from here.
Because I haven't seen a letter like that.
What do you mean it
What does
almost
almost
came?
mean?
What is
Yeah,
almost-
What does almost
Council
came
or
from?
Would you like to elaborate?
No.
Okay.
So we're in the midst of some legislative talks with myself and Kelly. So that's one of the updates I want to do with him first, before I elaborate on anything that we're doing here. But I am.
So I think these guys should have known that before it even came to him. I'm going to go now. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Please see for yourselves. Thank you.
Thanks, Liz.
And that's exactly what I'm doing, by the way, is getting everything in order before we come to you, which is what she said in here. I'm not prepared. I'm working with Dave Powers and working with Kelly, trying to come up with solutions. So I'm just not prepared to give you the full scope until we're prepared to do that. So,
Yeah,
Can-
and I wish she wouldn't have
So-
left, because I think she was looking at one specific place.
Right,
This is talking about the whole gamut of it.
right.
Right,
There's a lot of issues with homeless that don't go to the shelter.
Right.
right,
Correct.
Need some legislation.
Right.
right.
So I think she missed that point.
Well, she said so herself, that it's not the most ideal location. That's basically what,
I
we
think
all,
I
most people agree upon.
think she also thought you guys were voting on something.
No. Didn't even discuss it
So
yet.
did the second inspection, did you miss it or
No,
was she,
no,
when is
no.
it, when is it due?
There is no set date at this particular time for a second set of inspections. So I have a full report, but once I get it all compiled, we go through all the legal steps and everything else that we have to do. I'll present it to you guys.
Well, I do know that when you inspected the first time and you found all of these issues, and you said you had so much time, we're going to come back and re-inspect if they're not taken care of. Now, did you change that date?
No,
So then did you go back?
we did.
She just said you didn't.
We did. We went back for the second time on the first set of
First set.
issues. So
Okay?
there's several sets of issues in here, and it's a pretty intricate program that we're dealing with. So I'm just not prepared to get all to the in and outs of every little detail of it yet. I
Understand.
will get everything together. We've done everything we were supposed to legally and per codes. It's just not quite ready to go. Here's what our findings are.
And
But-
after that second set, after you went back the second time, then you did not set a date to go back a third time, right?
Not yet.
Is that what
No,
you're telling
That is
me?
correct. That
Okay.
is correct.
All
That
right.
is correct. There's a lot, like I said, a lot of information that's out there. Unfortunately for her, she's not privy to all the conversations that we've had with Dave Powers and through legislation, through all that stuff. So she's reading a lot into it that's, hate to be descriptive or encrypted, but just not prepared to make that presentation.
Mhm. Okay.
All right, anything else on the parking meter replacement and enforcement? Because that's the item we're on. Yes, Frank?
When you use this Park Mobile, are you paying more than if you put a quarter in the meter?
No.
How does Park Mobile get paid?
On your credit card.
There is an additional fee.
Oh, there is, yeah.
What is that?
Credit card.
There is an additional fee, yes.
When you
Park
use the
Mobile.
Park Mobile,
That's correct.
how do we pay that?
When-
What,
They'll tell you that.
When you set up the account, you'll put your credit card in.
okay, but
It'll tell you, like, you select the amount of time you want to park,
Right.
and it'll say, this is how much you have to pay.
and how much goes to Park Mobile? No.
It's not broken out. It's just one amount.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how much we are paying Park Mobile to have this system.
We're not.
We don't have, the borough doesn't pay
We don't
none of
pay
that.
them.
Oh,
No.
okay, so all the people who are using spaces.
That's correct.
That answer it. Thank you.
No cost.
All right. Anything else in the parking? All right. 9D, discuss budget savings and cost-cutting measures. Peter, was your item.
Todd.
Everybody.
This is something that we just want to have on our radar.
Yep.
And so I personally don't have a presentation of things for tonight, but this is something we want to keep close by. And as we come up with ideas, let this be the place to throw out crazy ideas and have them shot down. But maybe we'll get one that sticks and find a golden egg.
I think this stems from Peter's challenge to us during the tax increase discussion. Don't raise the taxes, light the fire under our feet, find solutions. And I think he's right on that. But I also have my other opinions as well. I think he's smart to have this on every workshop agenda, because in 12 months, when we're talking about the budget again, and we have problems to solve, you can't look back and say, well, we didn't have any discussions like Peter wanted us to. It's going to be on the agenda. I think it's smart to do that. And let's talk crazy ideas. I have a couple.
Well, I think the parking meter, the discussion we just had, that has potential to save us a ton of money.
That's true.
And I know Steve had brought one up a couple meetings ago about, to do with something with our systems. You went with that.
Oh, the finance program.
Yes.
Switching
That's a
to
great idea.
QuickBooks.
So we're looking to switch to QuickBooks. The program we currently use is $18,000 a year. And it looks like we can get that down definitely with all the add-ons and stuff that we need with QuickBooks of under 5,000. So hopefully even less than that. We're looking at a couple different things as far as the bill pay, the timesheet aspect of it. So we're looking at what's going to be the most efficient and the most cost-effective way. But I think even if we go with all the options that we would need with QuickBooks, it will still be under $5,000. So now we're going to be looking to phase that in and basically run them parallel, but with the hope of having that completed before the end of the year, before we would have to pay for Edmunds again. So it's not something we're just gonna, today, but we'll make sure that it's run correctly, before we pull the plug on the old system.
I thought of possibly taxing short-term rentals, like having an occupancy tax or
We can't.
like bed and breakfast.
We can't.
You can't?
No, because I had looked at that before, because we have Lancaster has what's it called, the tourism.
Mm-hmm,
It's taxed at the county level,
right.
so we can't do it individually.
Oh, okay.
That also comes into Act 5 of Devon taxes.
Yeah,
We can't create them anymore. As
Okay.
a borough, we're hamstrung.
yeah.
What about games of chance?
That is,
Heather checked into them
yeah, I
last
checked
year.
into that.
Yeah.
That's,
What about like a casino?
On every meter,
What's that?
on every parking meter. You already got.
Tax.
I would want a casino in town, but I think we're here to solve it.
But the
a revenue, a tax
casino,
issue, not
the
a-
casino is run by the state,
Yeah.
which
I
goes
know,
into
so,
our,
yeah,
which
yeah,
goes
yeah.
into our
Shoot
LSA,
down.
which, you know.
Another one that gets,
Same thing with the electronic
another one
machines
bites the dust.
that are in like the. gas
But
stations.
it would
Oh,
attract,
yeah, I looked
Oh,
at
yeah,
those
we'll
last
attract
year,
the people.
Kelly.
it would
They
attract
tend to do it
people.
now.
Well, yeah, we're still,
Superior, that's one of the things he wants to tax. now.
yeah, it's still like,
What did you?
but yeah, it's
What was
gonna
that?
come to the
The
state
electronic,
level.
like you go over to
There's
Brothers, they have a whole room
skill
full of
games.
skill
EA
games.
skills.
Yeah, when the state's looking to tax
Yeah.
them.
Okay.
Yeah, they're on
Like
tax
Stovers,
revenue.
and- yeah.
The governor just proposed a tax.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
can
because I was trying to figure out how we could fit those into the
Be
Act
nice.
511.
Yeah, it would be nice, wouldn't it?
Well, we talked about, I talked once before about getting someone in here to take a look at our streetlights. Should we go to LEDs and see, and I just know, I can't give you a number, but I know there's considerable savings,
We could be grants,
I-
take care of that.
quite possibly.
I talked to Derek about this, and he said he couldn't verify for sure, but he said in York County, the electric supplier, actually, with equivalent of PPL, actually was putting in those lights for free,
Mhm.
Med-Ed, at no charge because of the discounts in repairs for the lights that they own and the less strain on the system.
Yeah, that's the big one right now.
He
It's
said
gonna
that,
take a lot off the grid.
he said they'd like to do them in sets of 20 though, something like that. That's how many fit on a truck or
And
something.
that affects that's our liquid fuels money there, so that would save our liquid fuels money.
How do we look into that? Is that anything we asked the borough manager?
I can look into that.
Yeah, PP&L. I know our church is looking to get grants from PP&L to switch ours over to
Already
LED.
have it on the list. Yep, yep.
Just not the purple ones.
Red and gold.
Headlights
Roll-
are,
roll
I mean, the headlights are blind and you can't see anything.
Right.
What else were you thinking? I was thinking something else. What else? Not. Something else.
Columbia merch.
There we go.
Have a merch shop. So
Oh,
we,
no, no,
Oh,
no,
with-
no, not that.
with all
That
Columbia
wasn't
material.
here.
Yeah,
no, I know that wasn't yours.
I
That's,
remember.
that's one of
talking
mine.
about
Oh, that's what it
Yeah.
is. This is radical. I don't know. This is really stupid, I'm sure.
Meme coin.
Probably everybody's gonna hate it. It's gonna say. it's
Oh,
gonna be-
just
it's
spit
gonna
it
be
out.
possible. What if we just dissolved Columbia and merged with a neighboring municipality? Right? Unincorporated and became part of Mount or West Hempfield or something.
That municipality has to want you.
Well, you
Yeah.
have, well, I'm not saying that that's not the truth, but I'm, to say that they won't want us, stupid talk, in my opinion. That's negativity. If you really believe that this borough is worth investing in and keeping here and running for and living here, there's value to this borough. And to turn around and say, every other municipality out there thinks we suck and they would never want us, we have no value. That's wrong thinking. Wrong thinking, because we have awesome value.
I
We are the
agree.
center
We
of the
have-
universe.
I agree we have
Well,
value.
there's another thought process still. Should we be looking at becoming a city instead of a borough?
Mhm.
Well, could we do that if we merged with another
No, we don't
municipality
have
and
to.
become bigger?
All we have to do, no, all we have to do is change it.
Yeah, you just have to change the,
And it
And
gives
what-
you a lot more in taxing options and things like that.
not really. I mean, city has the same options for taxes as we do. The third class city code is the same taxation as the borough code.
But I think it has, it falls more in with the townships on civil service. original
No.
civil service.
No, they're, third class city has civil
Well,
service
let's
as
take a
well.
look and see if there are benefits. No.
Yeah.
Same thing, and I hate to say this, I really hate to say it, but are the benefits becoming home rule?
What's that mean, homework?
City just went to home
Well,
rule.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
You have to, you basically write your own charter and you have to redesign everything from the top down. I mean, the whole way. Talk about how you're gonna be like what the borough council, like what the council is gonna be made up of. Basically rewrite all of your codes, everything.
Lancaster's doing that?
Lancaster did it, yeah.
What's the benefit?
Value.
What the whole reason they did it, and the reason most places go to home rule, is because it allows you to increase your personal income tax instead of just relying on property tax.
How do we collect personal income tax right now?
The earned income tax,
Yeah,
Do we not?
the county does it through payroll, and then they send us
Then it's our share.
our portion. So whatever, like the local rate is for earned income tax, we get the portion of that for us. But with home rule, we could say the percentage is higher, which is what Lancaster City is doing.
Is there a benefit? Do we make any money collecting property taxes?
What do you mean?
Is it worth our while to collect property taxes?
Right. Just do it ourselves versus letting the county.
Is that what you're saying?
Don't you
Let the
think?
county do it
Yeah.
instead of us counting.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what I mean.
I mean, we would,
The time it takes to
the
process.
time it takes it, yes, it is a hardship. I mean, we've said that before, is that it takes our staff time to do that. So there will be a savings there. I mean, we wouldn't get the, whatever it is, there's money that we get from the county then for collecting it. So we wouldn't get that, but I think that would be negated by the time that staff would not be doing it. But we can't just say, because now we have an elected tax collector, we can't just say, we're getting rid of the elected tax collector. That's not up to us.
No, what you can do exactly what the school district did. You can tell the tax collector, we're no longer going to be your assistant tax collector.
Right.
You got to collect your own taxes.
Correct,
The tax collector says, I can't handle you doing this. I'm going to send it down to the county.
correct. That's what we can do, but we can't do that mid-agreement.
No, you can't do it mid.
But this year, there is,
Tax collector's up this
the
year.
tax collector is up this year because it was only a 2-year term.
Yep.
So they are on the ballot this year. So if we can make that decision at the end of the year that we're not going to.
Can we look at those numbers? Can you do a comparison?
I could try to see what the difference is. I mean, I'm not real familiar with that, but I can look into it.
What
It's
are
gotta-
you
gotta be
looking for?
available
Does
somewhere.
it save money?
Sure.
You know, the district used to do what we're doing.
Doing it and not doing
Yeah,
it.
They
basically.
What the
collected
difference
school
in that
tax.
would be if we didn't do it
And they said,
and you gave it to the county. what
this
the
is,
difference is.
Well, I don't know.
this is costing us an employee
Yeah.
to do
I
this.
mean,
We're not going to do it.
I would
when
have to
the
get
county
the
does.
staff to tell me how much time they spend.
Yeah, right.
That's what he's
what
going
Todd's-
So they're probably looking at a $50,000-$60,000 savings.
But if you keep that employee, it costs you more.
Mhm.
Understand what I'm saying? If you turn it over to the county and lose that payment the county gives you, but you keep that employee staffed,
But see,
your costs go up, but they don't go down.
we don't have that though.
Who doesn't?
We don't have that employee that does just that. The school district did.
But he's saying we don't have the employee that does just that job.
Right.
Like they're doing other jobs, just not the tax.
Right. So it's going to
Correct.
it's going to increase efficiency.
Mhm.
More time to do other tasks.
Mhm.
There are four hands.
Four different bodies that will process taxes, some form of taxes.
Mhm.
2 office girls and 2 in finance.
That's a lot of time.
Yeah, that would be a good thing to get rid of.
Plus the time at the window.
I think the argument was, but people like to walk down and drop them off
It
at
is.
the front window.
Yep.
They did
always
that in
was
the
that
school
way.
district too until they changed it.
Like ripping the Band-Aid off, right?
It's just like putting quarters in the.
Still a 3-year,
Like
still a
the
5-year
same
phase,
Envelope it, doing that.
3-term phase.
They like driving horse and buggies.
We're playing whack-a-mole here, but I wanted to go back to Todd's crazy idea because, you know, we have these other thoughts of home rule or become a third class city, but like it doesn't solve our issue of being landlocked. And the lines that have been drawn in the past prevent us from expanding. I mean, if you look at these townships around us, they keep, every time they have a budget problem in the near future, they find someone who also wants to develop a farm into high density residential. And then they solve their issue until it comes around again. I'm not saying it's like an evil scheme or something. It's just the nature of people wanting to move to the area, but they have options to expand. I mean, if our borough lines followed Ironville Pike up to Prospect and then over to Locust Grove Road and back again, that would give us a lot more plannable cityscape, or not even that would have to be developed, but
Are you suggesting a militia?
I'm not suggesting a militia.
Okay.
Are you suggesting an annexation?
Did we ask
I'm
them to
saying
sell it to us?
the issue, if we change our organization to allow more taxes, that doesn't solve the original problem of having too high of taxes in this borough. And the problem is we keep on kicking the can down the road. So is it worth considering a crazy idea to become the greater Columbia, West Hempfield municipality, right? They're all around us. If there would be, for some reason, the desire to go through with that on both sides, obviously that's a big process. But I mean, we've talked about this in the past. What does it look like long-term for policing in this borough? What's our plan for succession? The communities keep getting larger. West Hempfield is going to need more police in their greater expanding areas. Do we combine? The whole school district thing of just how do we, as a borough, support the tax load that comes by the school district? The problem is the same issue. It's our boundaries. But that doesn't mean that we don't have something to offer in a negotiation like that. We have a lot to offer.
And we have more to offer now than we did 10 years ago when this subject was approached before.
Exactly.
With West
Yeah,
Hempfield
we have a lot
doing
more to
the
offer
school
than
district.
Others around us do.
Mhm.
That's for sure. Like you said.
It's certainly
otherwise,
worth
we're gonna
pursuing.
Develop everything, and then the can's kicked as large as you can get.
Yes, Sharon.
If you were to sell McGinnis at a profit, what fund would that money have to go in? And could it be used to pay the bond?
It would have to go to capital.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Somewhat.
The McGinnis
McGinnis.
property.
Oh,
I
so
don't
McGinnis,
know.
okay.
Well, we will sell McGinnis. We're not keeping it.
At a profit.
And yes, we will sell it at a profit.
That was a great investment.
Yes, it was.
Can I ask who the lady was that come to the microphone and who she was representing? Where did she work, or?
Her name is Liz Andrews.
I think she's with the
Hands across the street.
the homeless
James
shelter.
Center.
Ms. Cole, she's not part of the zoning or nothing like
No.
that? No? Okay, thanks.
All right. Anything else on the budget plus cutting?
I would say everybody around this table needs to come to the next workshop with one crazy idea.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
You're
how it's-
making it challenging on me, I'll tell you.
Well, one crazy idea, man. That's where the right idea is going to come from.
All right.
Columbia metropolitan area. Quick conversation.
I wonder
Borough
if
council
alcohol
comments. We'll
yeah.
start over here with Councilperson Stahl.
Yes, I would like a McGinnis Technological Park update meeting discussion, just, and to go over where we're at with the whole project financially. and what are our options given the prospective drone situation not really amounting to much. And I think personally, I think that the last action by council on the park has been so long ago. I think we need to revisit it.
All right. Anything else?
Can we get that on the agenda?
Do you want that the March workshop?
I guess I would like it before we take significant action. I don't want it to be so late that it interferes with moving dirt or
Right.
bidding
No.
things out.
Well, what I'm thinking is we have a project team meeting next Friday. I want to make sure that we don't bring anything that would damage our position before we start. And I would like to see then if some people from there could come. So maybe I'll see if we can put that on the 25th agenda.
Sounds
Go
good.
from there. All right. Council Post.
Nothing to add other than a good conversation on legislation, and we're looking to get caught back up.
All right. Councilperson Casey. Councilperson Kaufman.
Yes, as liaison to Parks and Rec, they are requesting that on the 11th meeting, is it the 11th? February 11th?
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday?
Yeah. They got an applicant from Bonnie over here,
Oh, Bonnie Link.
Bonnie Link over here at Coffee Corner to join. Parks and Rec did not have a meeting in January or February, but they did talk outside of the meeting individually. They all agreed that she should come forward. So prior to the 13th meeting for Parks and Rec, they would like you to have her considered in regular council
All right, we need to get the
application.
information, and I need to have that by Thursday, so I can put it in the packet.
That's fine. That's all I have.
Just a small comment. I thought this was a really good meeting. Good discussions, good meeting. Your turn.
Ditto. Is it my turn, Heather?
Yes.
Going back to something that Leo touched on during his comments regarding trash pickup. Hey, I've been the unfortunate recipient of late pickups, days gone by, issues. I wonder if perhaps maybe solve some of these problems. It's not time to talk about having a hauler of choice again. We touched that.
Yeah.
Councilor Novak brought that up years ago, and that's when we had all our local friends as haulers, and that was not a good time.
Well, back in July, we
We
had
did.
talked about that, and
Did we?
we were gonna have Evan prepare an RFP for a single hauler so that we could explore it.
I know.
However, with all of the staffing changes and everything, it's kind of been on the back burner as we're trying to get staff up to speed and everything else. So
Well, thank you.
as priority, but yes, I haven't been pushing that one because.
I forgot all about that conversation. Thank
Yep.
Yeah, we did.
you. Text my gov, right? And
Get my taxes again.
Park Mobile.
Park Mobile.
All that.
All right. I have one thing. Steve and I had a call yesterday with the Watch Clock Museum. We are their guarantor for the LSA. They have also been awarded a RACP and are wondering if we would be the guarantor for that as well. Basically, it's the same situation. They do all the work, have us sign the thing, we get the check, turn around and write them a check. That's it. Steve felt, we could do that again for them. We have, as far as I can tell, we have no other obligations with the RACP that we wouldn't have with LSA, but they're going to send me the resolution, and they're also going to send me an agreement. And I told Evan I'd like to have him look at that agreement before we vote on it. So I'm hoping to have that come before us next Tuesday as well.
Whether you know what the scope was for that.
HVAC.
I thought that was the last one.
That's the
That
completion
it's
of it.
it's the completion of it that they're still doing it. Yeah. So they got the RACP. What did they say? 250.
I think it started at 250
The-
and then.
Yeah, the RACP's at 250, and then they may actually apply for another round of something. But
I think they're looking at $1 million.
yeah,
For
they're.
that project.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, it's more than that because they got 250 from the LSA the first round.
No, I mean their total project cost,
Yeah, it's more than $1 million.
more than $1 million.
Yeah. So I mean, my feeling was they're one of our community organizations, and we should help in any way that we can with
It's a
that.
project that has to be done.
Exactly.
That we wouldn't wind up holding back.
Right. Yep. So I'll be bringing that forward on Tuesday, most likely. All right. Announcement of next meeting at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, February 11th. Council will hold a regularly scheduled meeting. Tonight we'll be adjourning to executive session to discuss personnel issues. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Geezy, second by Councilperson Brigard to adjourn at 9:17 p.m. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? We're adjourned.
I heard 6 to 7.
We're gonna have one tomorrow night. I think that's next week. He said, last night I heard, you were raising your rate twice. Then Saturday.
$20 bills. Thank you, Frank, I appreciate that. Yep, she got it, no worries. Okay, thanks, Frank. Oh, yeah. What is this? God love it. I'm not.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I've said that before. We should take Mountville from
Mountville.
West Hempfield.
Yep. Mountville.
What I need to get, we can pay for it, right? And the stinky thing I need right now is, I need a copy of Mountville area. See what they're paying. So you can't talk, you can't talk until you know what they're paying per night.
Is it crazy to talk about these things in public? There's things out here we are talking about out.
There's a time to bring them to the public.
So it's a bad time to bring it
Yep,
up.
thank you. What?
What I mentioned. Unincorporating and.
Oh.
It's crazy, right?
I think you should absorb Wrightsville. But that's why I gotta get it, I have to find out what they're paying Helen. I have to find out what Dottie will pay.
So you want a crazy?
In other words, I need
Annexation.
those numbers because you can't start talking until you know where your brother is. You know, so
Canada's gonna
there's
take
no way in hell I can do it cheaper than what they're doing. Then you don't. Sure.
They said
We don't think.
Really?
he fills in his, the office, like people come in to pay their bills and that.
He's the admin?
Yes, he's an admin. I'm not kidding.
So could they?
I know
So I brought up about, like grants and stuff. It was like, oh, we don't have time for that.
Could they